Welcome to the monthly market report for May 2021. I'm David Childers, and for the next few minutes, I want to give you the insights that you need to help confidently lead those that you serve in U.S. real estate. There's a lot going on right now, and we'll start right here with a quote from Freddie Mac. Comes from Sam Cater, and he says this: "The main driver of the housing shortfall has been the long-term decline in the construction of single-family homes. That decline has resulted in the decrease in the supply of entry-level single-family homes or starter homes. Probably no bigger issue right now that we need to be talking about than the lack of available inventory across the country." Now, we've talked a lot about that. If you followed the monthly market report, you know that. But being able to be confident and deliver people the truth is our job right now. Relative to low inventory. So let's talk about that for just a minute. The census released this information: single family housing units completed by decade. And you see the deficit over the last decade between 2010 and 2019, where just 6.5 million homes completed in this country, whereas the other four previous decades, only one just under 10 million homes. And so a significantly less number of homes on the market, or brought to market, I should say, than what we've seen in the past. That's how we bring new inventory to markets through new construction. And simply right now, the amount of housing in this country is not keeping up with population growth. A lot of this because of the hangover from the housing crash back in 2008, and builders being hit hard there. I was having this conversation just the other day with someone talking as they had just sold their home, and then they brought it up, and then we're going to see a crash. And that topic of crash is what a lot of people are talking about. Google reported that just a couple of weeks ago that the search question, "When is the housing market going to crash?" spiked almost 2,500% in the past month. So a lot of people talking about that. A lot of people, wondering, is this like the last time? I'm not going to go deep in that today. Last month's monthly market report, I give you all the information to be able to talk about that. If you missed that, or if you want to go back and re-listen to that, you can see all the ways that this market is different and how experts in what we don't expect is a crash in U.S. real estate, because this time we're not dealing with an issue in the housing market. We're dealing with a lack of supply, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Well, let's talk about inventory. This is a picture, a slide that you're used to seeing, the year-over-year change in listings. New listings represented by the green bar. You see that coming up right here. I'm going to talk about that. Be careful how much of that you believe. Total listings there in the orange, now turning red bar, down 53% across the country. Now let's talk about the year-over-year change in listings, why they're spiking up right now. This is a look at listings as compared to this time last year. And so what was happening this time last year? Everybody was pulling listings off the market when we were in lockdown during the pandemic. And so of course we see a spike in the change in listings this year as compared to this time last year. So a reason for that: look right now at week over week inventory listings. Starting to hear a little bit about inventory starting to increase a little bit across the country as we're here in the spring, but don't be fooled by some headlines that may come out and show some pretty amazing jumps in different metrics that compare to this time last year because of what we were going through in this country due to the pandemic and the lockdown across the country. You're going to see some of that. Take a deeper look as you hear those things. What normally is happening during this time of year with inventories, we're starting to gradually increase. So if we look at 2020 as compared to 2021, starting off in December of the prior year, 2019, you see this growth of about 100,000 listings in the first quarter of the year. And what happened this year? We've stayed relatively the same, just 20,000 listings added over those 3 months as we've gone into the into the new year and started to go into the spring market. So typically we see more people saying, okay, this spring we're going to put our home on the market. Inventory is growing, and certainly coming out of the pandemic, maybe more people feeling confident about selling their homes, but we want to still see that come back to market, and haven't seen those people put those listings on the market as of yet. NAR just came out with this. Demand remains strong as home buyers are snatching listings quickly off the MLS. And it takes approximately 18 days for a home to go from listing to a contract in the current housing market. A year ago, it took 29 days. Listen, 29 days is a quick amount of time. 18 is even faster. And we're in a fast moving market. We talked about this, and how quickly homes come on the market. They are purchased even quicker. So the velocity of the market is there. We just don't have the time for those homes to become inventory in across the markets across the country. So I want to continue to remind customers things are moving fast. The question now starts to become, when will we start to see listings come back into the market? Well, we're getting a look at that from Pulsenomics, and they say this: 43% of the economists they surveyed say the U.S. housing market will grow in the second half of the year, when folks feel more confident about going out and maybe having people in their homes. Builders are building more, certainly seeing headwinds on the rising cost of lumber, the rising cost of supplies, and those that have put off putting their homes on the market. All those things coming together to bring more inventory back into the market. Economists, certainly saying, we're going to see that in the second half of the year. And what we want to start talking about right now as we look to the second half of the year and realize the market we're in is, why would people want to sell right now? NAR came out with a study and did a little bit of a deeper look at that. Top 5 reasons why homeowners plan to sell this year. 1, the home no longer meets our needs. This is, coming through the pandemic, the needs that we had in the home have changed. It's now the central point of our lives, and there are a lot of things that we did. We want something that will meet those needs going forward. 2, we can make a profit in the current market. This is filed under the "we can sell our home for what" category right now. A lot of people saying, this may be the time to sell, given where the market is at. 3, we want to make we want a smaller house, less work. We want something that we can maintain a lot easier. 4, we want to live closer to friends and family. No doubt a byproduct of the pandemic, that relationships and those that we're close with have become so much more important. Number 5, we want different features and amenities. So many people thinking, there are things in a home now that we want, given the last year, things that you need to be talking about with, for those that are thinking about selling, doing something that engages people to say, okay, does your home still meet your needs? Are there amenities and things that you want? Have you thought about what you could stand to gain through selling your home in this market? The other thing that's very, very apparent right now is that the attitude towards owning a home has started to shift in this country. And I want to talk about this for a minute, because it's an important trend that we want to take a look at. This is from the NAH: prospective home planners to buy a home in the next 12 months. 16% of American adults are considering the purchase of a home in the next 12 months, according to the NAHB's Housing Trends Report for the first quarter. So what you see there, the first quarter of 2020, about 10% of folks saying we're planning on buying a home, jumping up to 16% by the beginning, the first quarter of this year. What does that mean? The attitude towards owning a home and buying a home has shifted during the pandemic. It's very interesting, and don't miss this. Coming out of the last downturn of 2008, people spoke after it about whether buying a home was still the American dream. And you remember a lot of those conversations, with people losing money in their home. Do we want to go out and do that? Is that a wise investment? Maybe people will rent. Maybe they'll decide to do something else. And maybe owning a home is not the American dream. Well, today, coming out of the pandemic, there's very clear signs that owning a home, home ownership, all the things that means to people, tangible and intangible, has dramatically changed people's views on home ownership. Seeing more and more people want to own a home. And I think there's a lot of that that's due to home being the epicenter of our lives for the last year, where we went to school, where we worked out, where we ate, where we spent more time with our families. And certainly as we come out of this, I don't think that's going to be the situation forever, but people remember that, and people say, you know what, that's important to us now, and we want to own a home for that very reason. One of the things is we talk about people that are buying, we certainly need more people to sell. The average profit for a home seller increased 26% over the last year. The average was $55,750, just over $70,000 in the first quarter. Big jump there in the average profit. So I think the question right now is, one, do you think about selling your home? Two, do you know how much equity you have in your home? Oh, by the way, the average seller in the first quarter netted $70,000 out of the sale of their home. The real message here, and you've heard us talk about that, it's not a bubble. It's simply a lack of supply. This came from a quote from Lawrence Yun, and I think we have to be very vocal about that right now, because a lot of people, we talked about the Google study, thinking this is a bubble, when really it's supply and demand at work. Anytime there are fewer of an item on the market, it's going to keep that upward pressure on prices, and what we're seeing right now across the country. In just a minute, I'm going to get into forecast and what experts are saying about prices coming up, and that's going to be important as we turn the corner to the second half of the year. But remember, it's a lack of supply on the market versus anything else interacting right now. And certainly we're seeing a lot of frenzy in the market. One of the things we want to talk about, keep you up to date on, is a forbearance update. Last month we didn't go deep into forbearance. Want to give you kind of a snapshot of that. There's some good information coming out for those that are in forbearance and want to continue to update everybody. I think this is a topic we need to continue to talk about. There will be those that are affected by forbearance that we want to help. The number of active mortgages in forbearance has been unchanged for the last several weeks, but if we go back to May of last year, we're seeing this drop in the number of those that are in forbearance. Over the last 2 months, 400,000 people have left forbearance. It kind of happened, and not a lot of talk about that, but they're coming off of forbearance. Remember, you could do the initial 180 days, apply for an extension for 360 days. So you're a year later now. Expect more people to roll off of forbearance. Now, big question is what's happening to those that are in forbearance, and there's a lot of things being thrown around about is the CFPB doing something, and is there things that are going to be done to push foreclosures out even further. A lot of that's still pending, and we're not going to comment on the pending legislation, as we have definites. We'll bring that to you. But upon exit of a forbearance plan, remember we've used this pie chart for quite some time to describe this. 47%, just over it, are paid in full of those that came out. Now, this is as of the middle of April. 36.5 have worked out some sort of repayment plan. Again, banks not wanting, if they can help it, to take these homes back. 16.2% still in trouble. Let's look at this over time, because that's really the question. So this goes all the way back to the start of the year. The green section of the pie started out at about 52%. We're at 47%. So seeing a slow decrease in those that are coming off of forbearance paid in full. Sort of to be expected as we go on to see that decrease. We've seen an increase, though, of those that are working out a plan on the blue bar. Started out 32.5% and up to 36.5%. What stayed relatively unchanged, is up just a percentage point, are those that are still in trouble. So what we're seeing is less, that are paid in full, more getting a workout plan and staying relatively flat on those that are in trouble. We're going to continue to watch this, because I think this is important, and it's important that we continue to talk about this with those that may need to sell their home, with those that may need to do something given the situation they've faced because of the coronavirus and all the things that's meant to businesses across this country. Rick Sharga from Realty Track said this, and I think it's very interesting. So I think the math speaks for itself, how well the forbearance program has worked. It's one of the few times in my career I've seen a government-initiated program adopted as well and executed as well by the industry as this one. That's thanks in part to a lot of you that listen to the monthly market report, that go out and bring all of this information to the market that you serve. and get it out there so that people know there are options. As more information comes up on this, we're going to bring it to you, and we're going to give you everything that you need to be the trusted advisor for those that you serve. One last thing I'll say about just overall the economy improving was what the Wall Street Journal recently reported on. Consumers were more upbeat about their income prospects last month, and many appear eager to spend. Survey found 8.9% of the Americans plan to buy a home in the next 6 months, the biggest share in records going back to 1978. A little bit different from the National Association of Home Builders study that we saw, but still a lot of people saying we want to go out and buy a home. A lot of people optimistic about spending and the economy improving. Expect to see more and more of that as we go through the next few months. In the downturn, the housing crash, it took about 9 years for the economy to return, unemployment, all the things that go with that. We're looking at seeing something here in just over a year, returning back to a very, very robust economy. Let's talk about what's on the horizon, where we are right now, and what experts are saying in the forecasts that they're making. Mortgage rates right now, this is an important story. We ticked up above 3%. We sit right now just below 3% on the average 30-year fix, 2.98%. The dramatic fall last year, still very, very good long-term financing for those looking to take out a mortgage. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is mortgage rate projections are that they'll go up. And I'm not here today to make a projection exactly where they're going to be, when, but I think it's safe to say it's just a matter of when they're going to go up and by how much. Okay. I'm not saying we're going to be at 3, and I'm not saying we're going to be at 3 3/4. We're going to be somewhere in between, but we're going to go up as the economy improves. You can certainly look for that. The interesting thing as we start to talk about rates is, one, where we stand today, just under 3% on the average 30-year fix, but also where we're going. This right now, this red bar represents right where we're at and where we are projected to go by Freddie Mac. And you can see here on this slide, 2018, 2019, the slide in 2020 last year, where still in a very, very good spot for those looking to take out a mortgage. So something we want to be talking about, something we want to get out there as we're talking to people about what their plans are for the market. We started off this time on the monthly market report talking about the lack of supplies pushing home prices up. We're seeing home price forecasts come out, and just about everybody that forecasted prices beginning of the year has adjusted their forecast and adjusted up in what they're saying is going to happen this year. The average of all the forecasters, 6.8% home price appreciation this year, and expect that to continue on as we see the lack of supply across the country. And the middle here, 6-7% appreciation, very healthy appreciation going into this year. Now the big thing that has come out this month is that forecasters are projecting we are going to sell more homes this year than we did last year. If we look at Fannie, Freddie, the MBA, and we look at what we sold last year in this country, we sold 6.5 million homes across the country. We're projected to sell over 7 million homes this year. So a very, very good market for all of us in the business. Now, the interesting thing is we go into 2022, still a very good market. We're projected to sell over last year again, over 6.5 million homes in this country, and anybody in the business would take last year over again. So a couple of good years coming up in the housing market, and we're going to sell more homes this year than we did last year. Something to keep in mind as you go out and you're talking to people that are wondering about, will this continue? Will the market sustain itself? And certainly experts are saying that into this year and next. I want to wrap up on this quote that we have from a legendary Japanese swordsman. It says, "Perception is strong and sight is weak." Perception strong, sight is weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distance view of close things. There's a lot of things in our business right now that are very, very close to us. And there's also a distance view that we need to look at. We're going to have a very, very good year this year. And as we turn the corner, experts are saying more inventory is coming back to market. But if we get caught up in everything happening right here in front of us, we may miss that, what's coming. And the question is, right now, are you prepared for what's coming? Are you preparing your team for what's coming? I think being in that spot is the right place to be, and listening to experts to say, okay, what is being forecasted for the second half of the year? What's being forecasted for the summer, so that you're adequately prepared.